You're listening to the Urban Sports Scene. I'm Wole and I'm joined by my homie Ray Jeezy. What's going on, Ray?
Hey, what's good, my friend? It's that time of the year where football season starting to kind of wind down. It's the
Yeah,
worst time for us, really, because football season is the best, bro.
it
Let's be
is. It's
real.
awesome, man. I'm exhausted, bro. Like a lot, man. I've been doing
Life
a
is
lot.
life. Life is
Life,
life.
life be life in. Life be life in. That's a good term these days. Definitely be life in. But you
Hey,
can
for
check
sure.
us out on our website, which is www.urbansportsing.com. You can also subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. Make sure you subscribe to the Urban Sports Scene YouTube channel as well. If you're on YouTube right now, hit that red subscribe button and also like this video.
Yeah, and as long as TikTok is around, search the Urban Sports Scene at Urban Sports Scene. I don't know what's going on with TikTok. Of course, check us out on IG at Urban Sports Scene. Hit us up on X at Urban Sports Scene. And check out our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Yeah, I'm not sure, bro. Sorry.
I think it's back because they had something that said like, it's back on and
It's
whatever. I
here,
only
it's
use it to
there
promote,
now,
bro.
but for how long? That's what I'm wondering. But
I
check
only
us
use it
out
to
for sure.
promote. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
That's my niece uses TikTok. I don't even know what TikTok does. I only use it to post clips on this show. So you got the wrong one with TikTok.
Yeah, for
You know what
sure,
I'm
for
saying?
sure.
So hey, also you can check out our weekly NFL picks. Well, actually, it's almost done, so I won't say weekly, but I was told we're still doing picks. So, and I haven't done any picks for real. I was
No,
told,
no, we have been picking the playoffs. I told you, I showed George. I've been picking the Commanders every week. I'm like, I'm not picking against Jay no more because if he
oh
gets the ball
well.
last, it's a problem. And I wasn't shocked by the Detroit game, not at all. But you
Well,
know,
I pick opposites. So I don't really, you know what I'm saying? I got a thing going. I got
I
a thing
know you
going right
got
now.
that mojo going. That's what's up,
I got a
though.
thing going. You know what I'm saying? You can call that my Nigerian voodoo, whatever you want to call it, but it's working. Anyway, man, you can find our picks at www or our lack of picks at
Not mine.
www.footballgarbagetime.com. It's part of the Urban Sports Scene versus Football Garbage Time Challenge. So, but they're good folks over there. So make sure you at least check out the website. It's a great website. Anyway, let's get into our tradition of pregame. Here's what we have on tap. Host of the Always Talking Ball podcast, Tyler Nohe and Lance Barton will join us to talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes. Oh, it hurts my soul to say this. Defeating the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the college football national championship game. Oh God, that really hurts my soul. Like, it is what it is. Anyway, let's introduce the fellas onto the show. What's going on, Lance? What's going on, Tyler?
What's
How
going
are y'all
on?
doing?
Man, we're doing good. Appreciate you guys having us on, fellas. And yeah, you're not the only one that I think that it might have hurt their soul a little bit that the Buckeyes brought home the national title here. As Tyler here is born and
Yeah.
raised in a little suburb outside of Indy and a lifelong Notre Dame fan.
Yep.
So yeah, he was. It hurt him as well too the other night.
It was a rough one.
I feel you. I feel you. Hey, but I want to say, first off, Lance, it's your first time. Welcome, man. Welcome to the Urban Sports Scene, Lance.
Hey,
Welcome.
I appreciate it, fellas. Yeah, I caught you guys when y'all had my boy Tyler here on, and when y'all were chopping it up, talking a little college foot, and man, it was a great show. Love what you guys do. Been catching some of your other stuff, and it's a busy time, man, for the urban sports scene now with the Commanders being in the playoffs like they are and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
love it, man. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been very busy. Very busy. I'm not getting as much sleep as I used to get. So yeah, So that I will say, but it's a joy. It's a joy. I'm gonna
Yeah.
act like it's not a joy. It's definitely a joy. But I went first before I get into like this game. I listened to like a few of your shows now. Y'all, are you both wrestling fans? Because I swear I heard some wrestling references.
Yeah,
I'm a big wrestling fan. I grew up. My brother and I grew up watching it. If anybody's listening to this, Indianapolis Royal Rumble's in a couple of weeks. I
Oh,
mean,
I know.
tickets for me. I'm open. So
I
Royal
know.
Rumble plug, love it.
Okay, I'll let you do it. Yeah, I know. I'm a wrestling fan too.
Yeah.
I will say this. I grew up a big wrestling fan. Took a break.
Oh yeah.
COVID hit, so I had nothing to watch on TV but wrestling. Then I was like, oh, you know what? I like it again. So I've been locked in ever since COVID hit. All right, so I'm gonna start. First of all, I'm gonna start with you, Lance. Going to start. I mean, going to start with terms of the national championship game. Did play out the way you thought it was gonna play out?
I mean, I think I had Texas actually, like when I first filled out the bracket, I had Texas beating Ohio State in the semis, getting to the national championship game. But obviously, like Ohio State going into this playoff, I mean, I know it's easy to say hindsight, but it really was like Ohio State was the most talented team going into this thing. Like all the talent that they brought back from their team from the last few years. They had guys that have been starting for 3 or 4 years, and then mixing in a couple of the guys they mixed in the transfer portal, like Caleb Downs, and obviously bringing in that just ridiculously talented receiver, Maya Smith. That he could be a wide receiver 1 on a couple of these teams, possibly playing on the NFL Championship Sunday this week, as good as he is already.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, not to throw any shade here at my boy Tyler's squad. I did not see Notre Dame making it to the national championship game. I really didn't. But the culture that Marcus Freeman has built there to overcome all of the injuries that they were able to overcome in this playoff, and to still get wins against SEC champion Georgia and a team like Penn State like they did. I mean, man, they just made the plays at the right time, and they were the best team, overall just team that was in this thing. The way that they played together and the way that they were built on culture. Ohio State was just the most talented team, and obviously all of that talent was just too much to overcome for Notre Dame with all the injuries that they ended up having.
Tyler, how about you? Did this game go the way you thought it would go, or you thought it'd be a little bit different?
Yeah, on the pod, I gave a heart over head pick. Obviously, I took Notre Dame by 1, but everything inside me is screaming it's just gonna be tough for Notre Dame to get this done. And like Lance said, with all the talent Ohio State had, going into the playoff, I'll throw shade on myself. I picked Tennessee to beat Ohio State in the first round. Obviously, that didn't happen, and now I look like an idiot. But they flipped a switch after that loss to Michigan, obviously, and it's got to be frustrating for Buckeye fans too to watch these 4 games and to think what were we doing the first 12 games of the season? What were we doing in that Michigan game? And but hey, you know what? They got a championship, so they can't complain too much. But yeah, I mean, Notre Dame was going to have to play a near flawless game, and they did for that first drive. But after that, it was too many mistakes.
How about just giving credit to the kid? I mean, Riley Leonard. I thought he played a hell of a game, though. The desire and the heart, especially that first drive, when that man he's about to pass out, he's about to pass out, and for him to have the strength and the fortitude just to survive throughout that whole game and play at a high level, in my opinion. I'll start with you, Tyler. He just talk about his leadership, his strength, and just his will.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody in that university, in that program, will talk about Riley Leonard, the person, before they talk about the player, because you've seen all the press conferences, the interviews and everything. He's just a stand-up dude. And he is the first person in press conferences to credit every single one of his teammates. After that Penn State game, I told you, I mean, he was, throwing Steve Angeli, some love. And I mean, he wants it all deflect off of him. And honestly, he was only there for 1 year. You got to think about that. He came in, what was it, 10 months ago. And to be able to prove yourself through actions to guys who have been there for 5 or 6 years, and for them to talk about you like that, that is true leadership to me. And then on the field, obviously, just putting your body in harm's way, just nonstop hit after hit. I mean, every time he got hit all season, Notre Dame fans kind of holding their breath, thinking he's going to stay down. But yeah, the beating he took on that first drive, Notre Dame fans will always have that first drive. They'll always have that first drive to celebrate. It was a legendary first drive, one of the longest in CFP history. But yeah, props to Riley Leonard.
Yeah, and it was such a good game. I was telling Wole that it was a well-played game. There wasn't a lot of penalties. It was smooth. The first drive, Notre Dame looked physical. I'm like, Notre Dame is just upsetting everybody. That's just how I felt. They had that kind of Rudy feel, for lack of better terms, to them. And I'm just thinking, how did they get outrushed? And also third down efficiency. They could not get the Buckeyes off the field. Was that coaching, or was it just game planning by Ohio State that gave them the edge in those 2 critical categories?
Yeah, I think it was more just game planning and overall talent for Ohio State, just the talent differential that they have. And like to your point there, Ray, Chip Kelly was in his bag really the whole game. You think about that drive that Tyler was just alluding to, that opening drive, for the Buckeyes to just immediately answer that with back-to-back 10-play drive, 11-play drive, running the football between the tackles, getting to the edges with the tailbacks, slinging it to multiple wide receivers who were just running butt naked in the secondary, wide open pretty much the whole game. Like they're giving cushion because they don't want to get beat deep. They're trying to keep everything in front of them. It's just an embarrassment of riches for the Buckeyes. I mean, I know, again, Chip Kelly was in his bag, but when you're calling plays with that much talent, and then when your quarterback on top of it is also using his feet. I mean, Will Howard did a really good job of extending. Like he's not going to do like some of what your crazy dual threat like athletic quarterbacks do, but he does a really good job of extending plays and avoiding sacks to be able to still find receivers open down the field. And he was able to extend some of those drives that you were talking about on third down with getting some first downs in the run game.
Absolutely, Tyler. Go ahead, man. Chime in. I know that was upsetting. You think you getting that team off the field, and then there you go.
Yeah, just some untimely penalties, man. I mean, it just and it just it's got to be frustrating too when you're just your team that plays man defense all season long, and then you get to play a team that really thrives against man defense, and you don't want to change who you are. You try to mix it up here and there, and when they did mix in zone, they were just those receivers are able to find the holes in the zone. Will Howard was just able to be very comfortable back there in the pocket and dissect the defense. But then, you know, when you run man, like on the last play of the game, basically you run man and we run a man-to-man coverage on Jeremiah Smith. Like Lance said, like he could be playing NFL easily right now. It's just going to be tough to stop him.
Yeah, and the defenses that had success against Ohio State in the regular season, they had one common theme. Like as much success as much as like talent as Ohio State has at all of their skill positions, both tailbacks, multiple receivers that they have, to be the ability to get to Will Howard, to actually get pressure on Howard is how you stop that offense. And Notre Dame just wasn't able to do that. They weren't able to apply any consistent pressure on him at all. So he was just comfortable in the pocket and able to distribute the football to all those weapons.
You know, man, Paul had a conversation. NCAA got it right. The best team won. Whatever, Paul. I don't know, Paul.
Hey, I love the college sports playoff. I really do. You know, we all go back to the BCS. I'm sorry, and this is much better than what we had before.
You think so?
It worked for Ohio State. It worked for Ohio State this year. Yeah, it was exciting games. Texas and Arizona State, I told you, was probably the best game. This was it was a good championship game. I think these teams deserve to be there. But going back to the coaches, you mentioned earlier, Lance, I think it was you that said Marcus Freeman, the culture he's building, but he's getting cooked in the media right now for some decisions. The fake punt, amongst others, going for that field goal late. Ryan Day, on the other hand, now he's the media darling. Times have changed so fast. So
I know,
what
grade would you give both coaches?
Well, I mean, in the playoff overall and in the championship game, obviously Ryan Day gets an A+. I still give Marcus Freeman an A+. I mean, the again, overcoming the injuries that they were able to overcome and making all the right plays at the right time leading into the national championship game. And I agree with you. Obviously, and Tyler and I talked about this on our show when we recapped the national championship game. The fake punt was probably more egregious than the attempt of a field goal because like Tyler talked about it, and then we heard Marcus Freeman say this in his press conference after the game. Freeman said that in that moment, I mean, it's 4th and goal from like the 10-yard line, basically. Ohio State had the number 1 red zone defense in the country. The chances of you probably converting a touchdown on that play and getting a 2-point conversion on top of it, it's not very likely. Like he felt like that cutting that game to a 13-point game with 9.5 minutes to go, that he had enough faith in his defense to possibly be able to get another stop and to be able to like come back more that way as opposed to going for it on 4th and goal from the 10. But the fake punt, you already had multiple like 3rd and short and 4th and short situations with Riley Leonard at quarterback running the QB power, getting that extra hat in the run game that you'd had success with. If you're going to go for it with 1 yard to go, the fact that they ran their backup quarterback out there and put him at the position there, like where everybody in the world knew that was the backup quarterback, Steve Angeli, standing there when he's normally not in that situation. I mean, it was telegraphed. Everybody knew it was coming. And what's wild is the play still worked.
I know. I'm about to say.
The dude just dropped the ball. Yeah. I mean, he still made a good throw and put it right on him,
Yeah.
and he just dropped it. So if he catches it, probably nobody's talking about it. But still, it was one of those situations where it was just don't get cute, man. Just line up and play that grown man football and let Riley Leonard just run that thing right up the middle for 1 yard.
Yeah, I agree with that. I saw that play. I was like, when he went for it, I was like, why are you punting it at first? And then I was like, oh, you're about to fake it. And then I was like, the whole game, he's guaranteed. Riley Leonard is guaranteed 1 yard. Like that play has been guaranteed. Like they know it's because like they knew, like especially the first drive when like that's where I knew like he can get that 1 yard anytime he wanted to. The dude was dead ass tired, and he can get the 1 yard, and he was getting like three yards per like QB keep. 3 yards. So I was like, they could stop it all game. He's guaranteed a yard. Like, why not? If you're gonna go for it, why not just get the yard?
Yeah, all that heart that you talked about that Riley Leonard has, and like his will and want to. Do you think in late in the fourth quarter, needing 1 yard to extend this game and to win this game, that he wasn't going to get that yard? Like he was absolutely going to get that 1 yard. Like this, just a shame that they didn't like line up and do that. Yeah,
I did hear something that you said like during your post game show, which I do like I kind of paid attention to it because I want to rewatch it. I went to rewatch the game and wanted to pay attention to like the halftime when they spoke to Marcus Freeman. You said he looked like you didn't like his body language at halftime, Lance. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Like his body language was really off. Like I want you to talk about that. Like after that first half, where do you think where his mental was after experiencing that in the first half?
Tyler, go ahead and take this one because you had a good explanation of why you think that he was seeming that way, seeming kind of shook.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Freeman's my guy. Like, I'm never gonna say he's shook. He's Rocky in there, Rocky in the ring. But
but even Rocky got tagged by Clubber Lane. Come on now.
Yeah, I just think he's probably thinking there at halftime, we got the exact game that we wanted. We slowed down the clock. We chewed the clock for 9.5 minutes. We limited Ohio State to 3 possessions in the first half, and they're down 21-7. And I think if you lay out everything but the score and you just kind of lay out those specific facts, you're thinking Notre Dame's in this game, and it's a tie game probably, like 10-10 maybe, but they're down 14 points, and he's probably just thinking like, what in the world just happened? Like, so in that, I don't think he was shook. I think he obviously had confidence that they could come back, make it a game, which they did in the fourth quarter. But I think he was just kind of just shook, like maybe even like, dude, like Ohio State, we knew Ohio State was good, but like, shoot, like these guys are really good, like putting together 4 straight touchdown drives on us, which Notre Dame hadn't allowed, like, a touchdown, like 2 touchdown drives in a game, like for 75 yards. And Notre Dame does it, or Ohio State does it on 4 straight drives. And it's just, it's like Lance said, it's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, and I know he's pissed off at the defender for that late hit too, because he was like, you could see it in his face, like you could see it.
Yeah, I mean, he said that too at halftime. He's like, just uncharacteristic mistakes, stuff we have not done all season long, and I mean, these teams have played three years in a row now, and the first one was Marcus Freeman's first game ever as a head coach at Notre Dame, and they lost that one. They were outgunned with Drew Pine at quarterback and Tyler Buckner at quarterback. But the last game last year up at South Bend, when Ohio State scored on the last play of the game, just uncharacteristic mistakes, like having 10 guys on the field on the last play of the game. And, so I don't know if they play anymore, it might just be like an Ohio State curse for Notre Dame.
Yeah, and Notre Dame too had like prided themselves, and like everybody talked about them in this playoff run, that they were the ones that didn't make the mistakes. They forced you to make mistakes, and when you made mistakes, they capitalized on it and made you pay for it, like good teams do. And they were the ones in this game that were making the key mistakes and key moments.
Yeah, I was expecting Will Howard to make a bunch of mistakes, but maybe that's just my hate though, so it's different. It could be my hate though. So
yeah, I'm not a big Will Howard fan either. He played great in the playoffs, really, really good. I guess I'm not. I'm a fan of Will Howard. I just think he's.
No, you're not.
I think he's an average quarterback.
I mean,
he's an average.
He got like all the weapons in the world. He should be.
Yeah.
He better be decent.
Like I told someone today, I said, my buddy was talking today about Riley Leonard missing some passes in the first half. I said, if Riley Leonard was on Ohio State and he had the protection that he had Monday night, and he had the guys wide open on Monday night that he did, he probably would have been a heck of a lot more accurate. And Will Howard just was sitting back there super comfortable. And we talked about it in the pregame. They had to get pressure on Will Howard. They had to get him moving in the pocket. They had to get pressure up the middle because, like you talk about it with anybody, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, anybody, you put pressure right in their face, it disrupts the entire play. And Notre Dame just could not get that done all night.
Now being able to reflect, though, Tyler, Notre Dame had a great season. I mean, everybody's been saying that. You don't believe in moral victories, but then again, who expected Notre Dame to get to the championship game? So they look like they're reloading in the offseason. This upcoming recruiting class looks amazing. Top 15 in the country, and 4 DBs, a lot of high schoolers and some transfer portal guys. Are you excited about what Marcus Freeman is building? And is the culture changing to where this team is now going to be known as a more physical and fast team? Paul, I see he put something in the comments about that. We got a few comments if you want to display them, because I think that Notre Dame is here to stay in terms of competing for championships.
Paul
What's your opinion on that?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Tyler.
Go ahead, Tyler. No, go ahead, Tyler. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lance actually talked about that a little bit, about how Marcus Freeman, the culture he's built, they're here to stay for the long haul. I think with the physical side, they're going to be a physical defense. Most notably, they just lost their defense coordinator, Al Golden, to the Cincinnati Bengals. So they got a defense coordinator replace. Rumor is
he got signed. He got signed already.
Yeah,
already.
Yeah. Went to the Bengals probably about a half hour ago.
Jeez,
just happened.
Yeah, so breaking news here on Urban Sports.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think they might look in-house for that. DB coach Mike Mickens would probably be a favorite for that, just with the defensive backfield they put together there. But they're always going to be a physical defense. I do agree with you. I think they're going to be here to stay. They're going to be competing in this for a long time with the way that they've set themselves up. And Marcus Freeman, obviously, for as long as he's there, they're going to be contenders. This offense is going to look completely different than they did this year. They are not going to have Riley Leonard anymore. It's going to be Steve Angeli or CJ Carr. Everyone's really high on CJ Carr there. And from what I can tell, he's not near the runner as Riley Leonard is. They've got Jeremiah Love coming back. They've got Jadarian Price, Jaden Greathouse, who had a great game. Entire O-line is coming back. So I think offense could be a lot more improved last year. And that's talking about an offense that, averaged 35, 37 points a game during the regular season. So that we'll really see Mike Denbrock be able to adapt his play calling to his offensive skill set next year.
And Ray, I wanted to add to that the part of with Marcus Freeman and what Notre Dame in this new NIL transfer portal era of college football, it's a transactional college football now. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And you look at the Michigan team last year, all of the guys that I know Wole likes that, their ability to keep a lot of those guys on that roster for multiple years and under Harbaugh and staff continuity and all that was just incredible. Ohio State this year, the ability to keep a lot of that roster together, that is not going to be the norm moving forward across college football. Mm-hmm. But with Notre Dame, there's a lot of players that go to Notre Dame that are also big for academics at Notre Dame, not just for football. Mm-hmm. They don't have a lot of guys. And the transfer portal has been going on now for 3 years, pretty heavy, especially the last 2 years. They don't have a lot of dudes that are transferring out of Notre Dame. And they're not bringing in a bunch of hired mercenaries, bringing in just a ton of transfers themselves. So they're able to build that culture and sustain that culture because it's guys that's been there for 2 or 3 years, and it's just next man up. So I just think they're going to be able to sustain that success over this time. And it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, too, the NIL world, with Notre Dame not being in a conference, I don't know if y'all saw the numbers. All these teams that are in conferences are having to split this money in the college football playoff. Notre Dame just taking that bag, boy, and putting that bag and throwing it over their shoulder, man. They're just taking that money to the bank and smiling and laughing at the rest of the country.
It's all me. They're like, it's all me. It's all ours.
Yeah, their pockets ain't empty.
I will say it's in terms of Notre Dame, I do like that. I mean, they're going to have Jayden Greathouse back. I think he's after his showing in the national championship game lets hey, next man up. He could be something.
And,
the next
and he had a good
game out Notre Dame
too.
Yeah, he's a dog. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I do think that Notre Dame with him, like another year, depending who the quarterback is, he can definitely have one of those, one of those years that we've seen other Notre Dame receivers had in the past, some of their well-known receivers. So I was excited to see him play, like, especially when they were down and what he did, like doing that stretch run where, I mean, look at it's Ohio State. Ohio State has typically had some of the better cornerbacks in all of college football, you know what I mean, in terms of secondary, and he ate them alive. So I just think that what he brought to the table was something it was impressive. It was impressive.
Yeah, and if you're a Notre Dame fan, you got to be frustrated that you didn't go to that earlier.
Yeah,
in that game. Yeah, I mean, second quarter was prime spot for that, and maybe they were planning on it. I know they got behind the chains on the second drive, false start, holding, all that stuff. So maybe they were planning on it, but they didn't take a deep shot till that second half. And when they started doing it, they started catching balls. They started drawing defensive pass interference, getting down the field a little bit. So I think if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're a little frustrated with that. But like Ray said at the beginning of this, I mean, great season for Notre Dame, 14 wins, back to the national championship. I may be biased as a fan, but I just think it's only a matter of time till they reach that peak.
So Paul has a question. He says, don't you think that some free agents can help?
That's basically what they are.
That's wild.
Oh my God.
What they are.
They are basically. Man.
Yeah, I mean, if they can go out and get a guy like Jeremiah Smith, sure, he'll help anybody win.
This is
right?
crazy.
It's easier said than done. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's that's funny, man. That like an NFL crowd there that's tuning in here, man.
Exactly. That's how basically.
That's what it is, though. That's what this is. It's free agency.
No, that's what.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Nick Saban said this on ESPN this year. Said that on game day. He said it's the only difference is with free agency. At least with free agents in the NFL, they've got contracts that they've got to live out before they can move on somewhere else. College football, man, it's just you know what? I'm not cool here. I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna go somewhere. There's people transferring 2 or 3 times in the same freaking calendar year now. It's nuts.
That's actually one of my complaints. I wouldn't have an issue with like NIL and transferring. If it wasn't such a, if you want to play the free agent market, if you want to play that role, then at least be like, I'm serious. Like, I feel like you gotta be contracted for at least 2 years.
Yeah,
that's like my belief. I believe we're gonna do this. If we're gonna do the Wild Wild West, if we're gonna do it for real, then if you want to be a pro, I gotta treat you like a pro. Like, all right, once you commit to this school, at least 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I know you could be screwed by a coach or whatever, and I get it. I understand that. I've been around kids with coaches promised them something and they didn't get this what the coaches promised them. I get that, but you gotta at least commit to 2 years. At least that gives you the little leeway to say, all right, after this, I'm going elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? Or if you stay.
I like that too.
You know what I'm saying? So, but all right. So all in all, everybody, a lot of folks have had their opinions about the college playoff system. I'm gonna start with you, Tyler. What was your were you a fan of it? Or are you you feel like there's the tweaks, or you're in the middle? Like, where are you at with the college football playoff?
Yeah, definitely some tweaks. I think obviously the most obvious one is the seeding. Yeah. Everyone's talked about the seeding and Boise and Arizona State getting that 3 and the 4 seed, when really that probably should have gone to Penn State and Texas. You still would have had those matchups between Penn State and Notre Dame and Ohio State and Texas, but they would have been in the quarterfinals. You could have probably still rewarded those conference championship winners like Arizona State and Boise State with home games. And it would have been fun. We talked about this a ton. It would have been fun to see like a Clemson heading out to Boise to play on the blue turf out there in a playoff game. Like that would have been pretty cool to see. But overall, anything that gives us more inventory of college football and more games. I mean, you think about it. I heard on another show today, without the expanded playoff, you don't get the Ohio State versus Notre Dame matchup, right? You don't. Those two teams wouldn't have made the 14 playoff. You don't get the game in the Peach Bowl between Texas and Arizona State that went to double overtime. You don't get that, right? So you don't get the scenes that we got on, South Bend on a Friday night in the first round against Indiana, and some of those other home scenes. So I just think we've always said, man, more college football is better for everybody. And I think, too, what it did, too, in November is it created a heck of a lot more meaningful games. And I know everyone's going to say, well, you rendered the Ohio State-Michigan game meaningless because Ohio State lost and they didn't get punished. They ended up winning the national championship. Like, that game wasn't meaningless to Michigan. I'll tell you that.
It wasn't meaningless to me.
Exactly. Yeah, it wasn't meaningless to Michigan. So, we talk about, I hate to throw shade to my buddy here, but like that Alabama-Oklahoma game, when Oklahoma beat Alabama, like that wouldn't have technically mattered before. Like, Alabama had already had 2 losses at that point. They probably weren't going to get in the 14 playoff, but they still had a chance, right? And then, they go to Oklahoma and what happens. So I think it created a lot more meaningful games outside the playoff and inside the playoff. And, but, I'll let Lance touch on it. We talked about, the whole underdog and the chances it gives everybody. He's got a really good take on that.
Yeah, so when they created this 12-team playoff, a lot of people thought that a lot of fans were excited because it was going to give the underdog, the little guy, a chance to go win a championship and to compete for a championship. And that's just not the case. It gives those teams a chance to make the playoffs, not win a championship. Could you imagine, like, your SMU this year going through and winning 4 playoff games against the type of competition that they were going to have to win a championship, or Boise going in and winning 3 games, like having to beat Penn State, then having to beat Notre Dame, and then having to beat a Texas. That's not, I can literally, there's not many guarantees in life. I can guarantee you that there will never be the little guy like that will never be able to win 3 or 4 games in a row. They can do the old Boise, Oklahoma Fiesta Bowl, the old famous Statue of Liberty play where they beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. That can happen. Like that one game where David takes down Goliath, that absolutely can happen. But winning 3 or 4 in a row, that's not going to happen. What it has done is what literally just happened. What it has done is it's created more mulligans for the teams that are the most talented in all of college football to have a chance to still win a championship. Because if Ohio State, they were the most talented team in all of college football. They had 2 losses in the regular season. If we have a 14 playoff, that Michigan game would have eliminated them from the playoffs, and they would not have had a chance to win a national championship. So what it has allowed for teams like Ohio State, with the talent that they've got, to be able to still get in this playoff and then go on a run like they did. Georgia last year with Carson Beck and Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey and that bunch, they got upset by Alabama in the SEC championship game, and they were the first team, they were the first team on the outside looking in of the 14 playoff. If that Georgia team that went and spanked Florida State like 1-3 in the Orange Bowl, if that Georgia team would have made a 12-team playoff, there's a chance that that team could have gone on a run.
They might have beat Michigan.
They would have. We stayed losing it. We stayed losing. Georgia. Don't get me started on Georgia, Michigan. I've seen that already.
But that's what this 12-team playoff has more honestly created. And it's wild that literally in the first year that was something that Tyler and I talked about before the year started, was exactly what happened with Ohio State, that it was going to give teams that had the most talent more opportunities to compete for a championship as opposed to the little guy.
That makes sense. It actually kind of reminds me of the year that TCU beat Michigan. They played Georgia, and that was just nasty work.
Imagine if TCU would have had to win 3 or 4 games. Yeah, they were good enough to have a month off to be able to prepare for Michigan and to be able to get that done in that game. But having to win again 1 week later against Georgia, you saw how that went.
That's a good. Yeah. That's a good point. I never thought of it that way, because I always thought about, all right, now you got the Cinderella story. It's just like college basketball.
Exactly.
Like you're looking at it like, all right, they're in the dance now. They got the opportunity to kind of take it all the way. But college football is different from basketball. Like it is very different. Like you can get rid of one, but you're not gonna go on that type of stretch run where you can get rid of like 3 in a row of blue bloods. You're not gonna be able to do that.
Exactly.
My man Paul said, I say make it 16 teams. 16 teams? Dang, Paul.
Hey man, the rumors are it's either after this next year, because this coming up year is the last year for this contract that they're under. And the rumors are they're either going to 14 or 16.
So they are.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I heard
it's
that.
not a guarantee yet, but it's like the worst kept secret. Like everybody talks about it. It's going to be either 14 or 16.
I think the trade-off is going to be more campus games, though, like in the playoffs, like we saw.
Oh, that makes sense. I like that. Yeah. I think I do like that. That'd be more fair. Cowboy college football said agreed. How Ohio had the money and had the roster to support a 4-game stretch, but Boise doing the same wouldn't be a miracle. I agree.
Would have been.
It would be. Sorry, would be a miracle.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, before we end this show, I just want y'all to like plug your podcast. And folks, if you're listening right now, make sure you subscribe to the Always Talking Ball podcast. So make sure y'all subscribe right now. Like, do that right now. Hold on, waiting for y'all. All right, thank you. Appreciate you. All right, now make sure you plug your podcast and plug where they can subscribe to it and on the YouTube channel, everything.
Yeah, man, you can find us, like I said, at Always Talking Ball. That's at Always TALKIN Ball on YouTube. And we're also on Apple and Spotify. And we also are on all the socials. We're on X at Always Talk Ball. And we're on Instagram and TikTok at Always Talking Ball. We throw out some really good reels and stuff on Instagram and on TikTok. Like Ray said earlier, as long as TikTok's going to be around, hey, we're still going to be throwing some videos and throwing some takes out on there. And again, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever the kids call it today. TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Fellas, this was fun.
It's great having you on. Hey, Paul has a question for you and Paul, make sure you subscribe to him too.
Yeah.
Paul, make sure you subscribe. Paul, he says, hey, is Trey Henderson a late first rounder?
Hey, honestly, like I know the running back position has been devalued in the NFL.
It's kind of making a comeback though.
It is. Like that, but he is I think he's going to be a stud in the league with his explosiveness and the power and the vision and his ability to catch the rock out of the backfield. He is your prototypical 3-down back that can be on the field all 3 downs, and he is a home run waiting to happen. I mean, he really reminds me a little bit more powerful, but he reminds me of Jahmyr Gibbs at Detroit right now. But like, dude, when he hits a hole, like he's about to put his helmet and put his face mask on the goalpost. The other end of that's how explosive this guy is, man.
I knew it was coming.
That's how explosive
I knew it, man. His pick. I knew it.
That's what they need. That's exactly what they need.
Dude. Hey, my boy B-Rob from Bama is solid for the Commanders, but yeah, like he doesn't have the overall just explosive capability that a Trey Henderson would, for sure.
Yeah, he's a different beast. He stands out. He's actually, and I said this before, because Ohio State's had some really good running backs.
Yeah,
he's the scariest Ohio State running back I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, man, he's without a doubt the guy that keeps defensive coordinators up at night, because if he finds a crease, he can turn a normal 5-yard gain into a 20-yard gain, or a 10-yard gain is a home run. It's a touchdown for him. Yeah. And you pair that dude with your boy Jaden Daniels.
Oh, it would be crazy. That would be crazy. See, Lance, don't do that to me.
Yeah. Get people fired up.
Oh, I'm trying to tame myself for Sunday. I'm not trying to think past Sunday. Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for being on, man. We're gonna have to do this again, man. It's a pleasure. Definitely a pleasure to have both of you all on. So, and your show is awesome. Like I said before, folks out there, make sure you subscribe like ASAP. If you're on here now, subscribe ASAP. So I appreciate y'all. I really do.
This was a lot of fun, man. We appreciate you guys wanting us to come back. Like I said, I know it's my first time. You had Tyler on last time, but this was fun, man. We enjoyed it. We'll anytime, man. Hit us up. We'd love to.
We will definitely. All right, y'all take care. Okay.
You too, man.
All right. Awesome, man. Great guys. Hold on. There we go. Great guys, man. Great guys. Hey, like I said, subscribe to the podcast, man. Y'all know what time it is, man. Always Talking Ball podcast. Hey, subscribe YouTube channel. I should put a link in the chat. That's I can find it.
I just followed on IG.
You did?
Yeah.
You got it? All right, cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
All right,
you
cool.
know.
My man, appreciate it.
Try to make sure I subscribe to the right one. Okay, I think we're good right here.
Yeah, you should be good.
Yeah, man. Fun stuff.
But yeah.
I love college athletics. That's why, like I said, I love the NFL.
Oh, I know you do. Yeah, you do. For you, because you're all about the real heart of it, right?
Yeah, it's just, to me, the gameplay. Well, no, the NFL is dope. Don't get it twisted. On the football side,
let me put the link in.
I love the NFL. Oh yeah, Paul said put a link.
He put the link in the chat. Let me give him the link real quick.
Okay. For sure. But I love the way college athletes, they approach the game. Even with NIL, it's still the same product in my eyes. And this was great. That's why I don't have like he said minor tweaks. I think it was Lance that said minor tweaks
Yeah.
to the college football playoff. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with them expanding to 16 teams. Is that dope to me? I
Mm.
think that there will be a Cinderella eventually who can make that run,
You think
but
so?
eventually, I think because
I
as
think
go ahead.
because they're like, you're dealing with like football is so different from basketball. It's like you miss a shot, you off. Like that's different. Like you know what I'm saying? Like some people just
You
scared the
can't just get
moment.
half from three. If you got a tough defense, they low in the
Yeah,
box
you know
on
what I'm
Ashton
saying? Like,
Zinke, it's a
yeah,
wrap.
you can't.
Yeah.
But football, like, you gotta. It's just like in NFL. Like the Cinderella team can go but so far. Like I remember, what's a good team? I'll give you an example. Like they can get hot for a couple games, but they're not gonna win the whole thing. Like the Colts with Jim Harbaugh. Like they had one year they was knocking teams out in the postseason, and then they all of a sudden I think they played the Steelers. They played the Steelers in the AFC Championship game, and they just were better. Like you just can't. You know what I'm saying? Like
I
it's just
feel like
different. Football
there's
different.
going to be a New York Giants team who squeak in and they get hot at the right time. Remember they beat the undefeated Patriots with your boy Moss when they were putting up Madden like
Yeah,
numbers.
but they weren't a bet. I know what you're saying, but they weren't like they were a hot team. They were a super hot team going in. Like
that's my point. It can happen. I'm not saying it's gonna happen anytime soon, but
I don't know, man.
I like what Notre Dame is doing. And Paul, I know what you're saying about free agency, but I love recruiting high school kids. I think that sets you up for a
Me
long
too,
haul.
man. You know me.
The
That's
thing
why.
about NIL and transfer portal that I do like is when Nick Saban he used to get every year the top guy at that position. And then they would have to sit for a couple years, but he never missed a year because he always had the top guys. Always. But now a guy as a freshman can go get paid somewhere instead of going to Alabama and play right away and ball out and then Bama's not stuck, not having the advantage like they have in the past. But I don't like that's something I want tweaked. You said it. I want to see that tweak. But in terms of the playoff format, I'm cool with it. I love it. College football, Cinderella take time. That's my point. Paul. I said eventually. I think you'll see
it's
it. But
going to be a while. I mean,
anytime soon.
teams are going to have to catch up with talent. Like the talent got to be so dispersed and spread out for that to like typically really happen. Like it's got to really be spread out. Like at least one thing I like about basketball, I feel like the talent's been spread out. Like, you know what I'm saying, a lot better. Football is like you guys like we just talked about Ohio State, bro. Like real talk. Like they just talked about it. They had everybody. They had the highest so-called like the highest paid team in college football. That was their thing. You know what I'm saying? So you got to compete against that. Like you had years with Alabama. Forget like before we started doing NIL, Alabama was getting all the talent. So you got to go against that. You know what I mean? Like it's harder. That's why I mean I love college basketball. You know, the tournament in college basketball to me is the most trillest thing ever because I do believe that you're gonna have a run where the Cinderella team can typically get to the championship game. They can get to the Final Four. They may be able to win it. You know, we haven't seen that yet, but may be able to win it. But it's close. You can see it. You can envision it. But in college football, it's hard, bro.
No, you're totally right. And then you talk about in college basketball, you see first round upsets. You saw Virginia lose to UMBC. You're not going to see UMBC beat Virginia in football. It's not going to happen. I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that. But you know what though? That's what makes college basketball so great. And this dynamic doesn't hurt the product that is college football. You know, college basketball, people live to watch March Madness to see buzzer beaters and the upsets. In college football, you're not necessarily looking at upsets, but still, I think Arizona State potentially advancing what they could have because they have Peyton Hillis 2.0 who just plays so hard, and he's always played like that. I think it still could be some great upsets.
Would you call that a Cinderella team?
Arizona State, no, because I think Arizona
I'm about to say, I agree with you. I'm about to say, because I would call them a Cinderella team.
Nah, Arizona State was good the year before. They just didn't win a lot of games because of some pieces that they were missing. They had some injuries. But then I wasn't surprised he Scatterbo go off. He went off last season, every game almost, and he played so daggone hard. It wasn't a shock at all. But, you know, there's some casuals and there's some mainstream. So when you see teams in the college football playoff, you get more eyes and some things are more magnified.
The only team I thought was Cinderella, was Boise State. You know what I'm saying? I know they had the dog and running back, but to me, that's more Cinderella than anything.
I love it. Yeah. Boise, they again.
They balled though. They balled.
You loaded the box up against him in that playoff game, and he saw that all season. But this was
different because you can see different talent. That's what I'm saying. Like that's a real Cinderella because
Texas, Penn State.
You don't have the 5-star recruits, 5-star talent. You know what I mean? Like or even transfer thorough talent. Like you do in like in your when you go against in your conference. So yeah, that's to me is a real to me like yeah. I'm with you. I do think a team like, for instance, if even using TCU as an example, if they got into the tournament and into the playoffs and they won it all, they were hot. I wouldn't be like that. Wouldn't be a Cinderella thing to me. I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it would be, but it wouldn't be to me because you're in a power conference. So I feel like you're in a power conference. You ain't really like you got talent. Now you may not have as much talent as the other, but you may get around with it with coaching. So you know what I'm saying?
True.
So, but yeah, man, this was a dope show, man. Appreciate y'all for pulling up, man. But anyways, before we end this show, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, tune in, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. If you're on here and you're on our YouTube page, YouTube channel, just hit that red subscribe button, man. Just like the video. Go ahead and do it. Appreciate you. I'm gonna claim it. My mom tells me to claim things. I'm gonna claim that you already subscribed. So thank you. Appreciate you already. Make sure you also follow us on X at Urban Sports Scene, and on TikTok and IG at Urban Sports Scene, and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Also check out our website, which is www.urbansportscene.com. What did Paul just say? He said something.
Cinderella
don't have the money for the portal. Yeah, that's true. That too, man. That too. Anyway, man, appreciate Tyler and Lance for being on the show. Great guys, great content. And I appreciate y'all for pulling up. Anyway, you've been listening to the Urban Sports Scene for ages. You dig? Deuces. Ray and I, we out. Oh, damn. Oopsie. I messed up. Don't worry about it.